Hi, welcome. In the previous teachings from Peter Levine, we learned about what makes a trauma, why working with the body is essential to healing trauma. We learned about trauma's impact on our ability to be present, and that grounding is essential for us to learn how to listen to the body and begin to come back in regulation. Right now, I want to speak to you about how trauma impacts the mind and body. These are related. I'm going to break them down just for discussion's sake into two different areas. One area is somatic, physical, and medical issues. And the other area is psychological issues. There's great overlap between the two of these. But I'm saying these so that you might recognize some of these symptoms or signs of unprocessed trauma, either in yourself or in those you work with or know. I also just want to reemphasize that most of the symptomatology from trauma results from this chronic dysregulation in our nervous system that affects psychological processes, affects hormonal processes, affects metabolism, affects pain perception. And so all of these symptoms that I'm going to list are the result of how this dysregulation manifests in the body or the mind. So very common somatic or medical issues for people who have unprocessed trauma, and I mean trauma that has not been worked on or released. One of the most common is GI issues like irritable bowel syndrome, digestive issues, bloating, cramping, pain. Also, frequently gastritis, which is an inflammation of the lining of the gut. Headaches, especially migraines, are common. Cardiac issues, including cardiac arrhythmias. Now, of course, these can also be caused by other organic issues, but frequently we see arrhythmias with people with trauma histories. There can be neurological issues. I had a client that was misdiagnosed as having epilepsy because every time that she had a very strong trigger response, she passed out and lost consciousness. There can be musculoskeletal issues like fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic fatigue. Respiratory issues like asthma and reactive airway. Dermatological issues like hives, rashes. Autoimmune diseases, psoriasis, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, lupus, and both rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. TMJ, temporomandibular joint, your jaw, and the tendency for it to lock. And another one is restless leg syndrome. There's more, but these is just an overview to give you a sense of how far-reaching these symptoms can be. Psychological and behavioral issues include post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorders, panic disorders, phobias, feeling jumpy, eating disorders, addictions, substance abuse issues, risk-taking behavior, self-mutilation or self-harm, suicidal ideation and attempts, depression, dissociation, paranoia, chronic rage, chronic shyness, explosiveness and reactivity, chronically passive, isolating, difficulty sleeping, sleep disturbances, nightmares, flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, intrusive imagery, intrusive emotions, avoiding situations, avoiding relationships, reoccurring looping thoughts, mind racing, survivor's guilt, and should have said this at the top of the list. If you've had trauma, there is a great chance that in addition to anxiety, you're going to have a ton of shame and self-doubt. These two last ones, shame and self-doubt, are really part of what causes the biggest cost for trauma, because strong feelings of shame and strong tendencies for self-doubt keep us paralyzed, keep us from moving forward, and keep us from feeling like we can trust ourselves, like we could know what's safe and not safe. So you can have trauma and you may not have hardly any of these. And there are people who haven't had trauma and may have some of these. So these symptoms aren't proof of having a traumatic experience in your past. But if you're carrying unprocessed trauma, most likely you're going to be showing one or more of these physical or mental symptoms and signs, or both. It's a way of allowing us to look at trauma lives in the body, causes these kinds of issues, and we have to live with the symptoms until we can process the trauma. So this is another way of, again, showing how much that carrying a load of unprocessed trauma taxes our body, our health, and limits how much we can be active and engaged and confident in our own lives. In our next module, Deb Dana joins us again, takes us on a much deeper dive into polyvagal theory and using techniques, practices, and insights from polyvagal theory to become an active operator of your nervous system, to really and truly help you begin to shift out of stuck and triggered places to places of more ease and more presence. Look forward to seeing you there.